Hello class, this is my Unit 5 post. So here we go. Again, within this Unit 5 section, there was an abundance of information. The information on domestic violence definitely stood out as important to me. We learned that around 10 million children a year are at risk for witnessing or being exposed to domestic violence. Being exposed to domestic violence can cause many issues such as psychological and behavioral problems. In the YouTube training video, we learned that substance abuse can play a role in domestic violence. Children within these homes can take on many roles in order to cope. Through the YouTube video, we learned that one of the roles is the scapegoat, and the scapegoat acts out and becomes the distraction for the family. They feel pain because they feel responsible for what is happening within the home. Without the scapegoat, the family would have no one to blame. The second role in the family is the family hero. The hero takes on a role as a caregiver and has feelings of inadequacy. It is important that we can identify these roles so we can help children and their families. Another important piece of information that I thought was important was from a national survey, and they reached over 6,000 American families. And the researchers found that 50% of men who frequently assaulted their wives also abused their children. This was definitely an eye-opener to me, and it is important to know the statistics when working with a client, knowing that there is domestic violence within the home. Finally, for this first section, the last piece of information that I thought was important to grasp from this unit was the effects on children who are exposed to domestic violence. Children who live in domestic violence face numerous risks, such as exposure to traumatic events, the risk of neglect, the risk of being directly abused, and the risk of losing one or both of their parents. They may also have behavioral issues such as higher levels of aggression, fear, anxiety, and depression. Social problems are also there, such as poor peer and sibling and social relationships, along with low self-esteem. The exposure to violence can cause many long-term problems as well. They may have higher levels of adult depression and increased tolerance for use of violence in adult relationships. From Unit 5, there are some aspects that I needed clarification on or more information. One of the aspects was on the topic of bullying. We know that bullying is very hard to define, and there are so many different kinds of bullying. These days, when bullying is taking place in school, when they come home through social media, where they play sports or other recreational activities, and how are they supposed to escape it if it's everywhere? There are anti-bullying policies within the schools, but if we can't exactly define bullying, then how can it be fairly punished? Is it always up to the judgment of the school? We also know that there are motivating factors for a bully, and it affects the bully as well. Are there steps in place other than punishment to help them with their needs and to help them work on why they're bullying and what's driving them to bully the other children? And finally, my last question is, it has to do with mothers using drugs and alcohol during pregnancy. Do you think that it is the mother's responsibility to protect her unborn infant, or should it be considered a form of child abuse? Thank you for listening, and I look forward to listening to your posts.